It's all over the internet, so we have to talk about it. Tyler, the creator, has just dropped a new collection for Louis Vuitton. Now, this collection is coming out soon. It debuts March 21st. So if you find pieces in this collection that I'm going to be talking about here today that you would like, you best get in touch with your sales associates soon and put in those requests. Now, a lot of people have been inevitably comparing the Craggy Monogram, as it is now being called, the Craggy Monogram print in Tyler the Creator's collection has drawn lots of comparisons to Murakami's Multicolore canvas monogram. And so people are kind of wondering, is Craggy Monogram the new Multicolor? Well, as somebody who owns Multicolor, I have specific thoughts about this, and so I am happy to do a video talking about this. Now, this is also a little bit of a collaboration video. So I have been in touch with Alyssa at the Gals Guide, and we were talking about, well, maybe we should do like a collab where we both get to talk about our Treville bags, because we both have Louis Vuitton Trevilles. This one is in the black multicolor, and Alyssa's is in the beautiful white monogram multicolor, so the print that looks like this. And we were kind of going back and forth on Instagram and our DMs, like, how should we design this collab? And then the photos first dropped of this collaboration coming up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Let's do a react, because it's drawing so many comparisons. So as we go through, we'll talk about some of the new upcoming pieces, and I'm also going to review my small but mighty multicolor collection, and I'll let you know my thoughts as to whether or not this new collection can compare. So let's get into it. I have 3 multicolor pieces, so I'm going to just take a moment and introduce these pieces and be talking through them while then moving on to some photos of the upcoming collection, and we'll see what we think. But this is one of the earliest pieces in my collection. Actually, both of these two SLGs, or small leather goods as they're known, these are both very, very early eBay purchases in my collecting history. This was a very sweet little piece that had some damage. So it did have some wear that was caused by, I assume, having keys that were flipped up and scratching against the inside of this piece. And so as a result of that, I was able to get a really, really good deal on this. I think I won this auction for like $75 or something ridiculous in today's standards, even with a little bit of damage. But then I was using this piece regularly, and this has some old keys on it, but I was using this piece regularly at work several years ago, and so it did get some wear to the pattern. So I did start to notice that the pattern itself was coming off, and it wasn't like that when I originally purchased it. So I was pretty bummed about that, and decided to basically retire this piece. Now it just sort of sits on a shelf. I might get it out occasionally, but I don't know. I mean, considering it already has some wear and some damage, I might as well continue to use it because it's not really sellable in this condition. It's just kind of a sentimental piece at this point. But yeah, this is the Louis Vuitton Multicolor 4 key holder, little key clay holder thing. And the edging has also gotten very worn over the years. So just a way of looking at what these key pouches look like over time. And you can see there's tarnishing here where the gold has worn off of the button just from use. But that's okay. We own these things to use them, and for the price that I paid for this, I'm pretty happy with it. And this is a key clay from Louis Vuitton in the Murakami. Again, this was a pre-loved piece. It has silvering at the corners and wear on the trim. And you know, the zipper channel still works really well though. It's not super dirty inside. It says Louis Vuitton Paris, made in Spain. This is leather lined, unlike the typical key clays. This does have a really soft leather lining. And when I first purchased this piece, it actually was missing the key hook part of it. And so if you haven't played with one of these before, you actually have to slide this up and then move it. That's how it kind of locks into place. So you have to slide it forward to open. But at the time, I was able to go right into my local Louis Vuitton, and they took it in the back and immediately replaced this chain. They had a tool and they just attached a new one for free. So that was awesome and immediately made it worth my purchase. But yeah, similarly, I think I originally purchased this for like $100 or something in an auction, and ended up using it quite a bit and still do reach for it. I like to clip it onto bags, or, you know, it doesn't hold as much though as my Monogram one, because the corners essentially are like Cellier corners, if this is like a Hermes comparison that we're making here, because they're pinched and going out versus folded in. It means that it just doesn't hold quite as much on the inside. So something to keep in mind if you are considering this kind of a vintage piece. If you have other key clays, this one won't fit as many things. And I'm just noticing now that I'm under my lights that like there are some scuffs on this. I think that mark actually could come out. I don't know if you can see that there's like a little white mark here. I think that could actually come out if I kind of scrubbed on it a little bit with a baby wipe. But yeah, for things that I bought, really loved, and then continued to really love, I have been super happy with the quality of these pieces in particular. And then here is my Louis Vuitton Treville. I hope that's how it's pronounced. This is a beautiful bag, and I, again, purchased this online on eBay. No surprises there. And I was specifically hunting for a piece that had really beautiful canvas. So I searched high and low and was lucky enough to just sort of watch an auction and made my purchase at, you know, by winning this auction. And I think it was like $675. At the time, it felt like a really good deal for the bag. And this was right at the start of the pandemic. So I remember being bummed when it arrived because I had nowhere to wear it to. And, you know, later as I was making grocery runs, wearing my KN95 masks, you know, and shuttling things in and out of the grocery store, like I was carrying my multicolor bag around with me. So just kind of funny, but yeah, that's the association that I have with it now. I never did clean it when I purchased it. Now, typically with vintage bags, I do a full cleaning, but this zipper, for example, could really use a cleaning and would shine up quite a lot. The hardware itself doesn't look that bad, but if you're interested in how I would clean a vintage zipper, let me know, and maybe someday I will do a video on that. But even the corners, you know, they have scratches and everything that you would expect for a vintage bag. And there's some silvering like right here. You can see that there's also some wear on the pattern right down here. But for the most part, even the corners are in decent condition still. But it's not perfect. I didn't want it to be perfect. I wanted this to be a bag that I wasn't going to be afraid to use. And in so many ways, this bag really fulfills my, you know, Y2K millennial heart of getting a bag from this collection. It was so popular when I was younger and was so faked and it was just everywhere. And, you know, all of those classic photos of like Jessica Simpson walking around with her Murakami Speedy. And at the time, there was no way that I could afford a bag like that. No way. And so it was just a forever wish list kind of bag. And then later, once I was able to afford it, I was lucky to snatch it up at a good price. And so what I love about carrying this bag, let me show you the inside. I love that it's got a lot of space in it, so it's really nice and open. It zips all the way down on the sides, kind of like how I imagine like a bleed would work. It's sort of a hybrid between a Speedy and an Alma. And so yeah, it's got a really nice interior. It does have a few spots that are on the interior. I honestly can't remember if like I put those there or if they came with it when I purchased it. But there's a big internal pocket and then what would have been at the time, you guys, a cell phone pocket. Isn't that funny? And Yeah, and it just imprinted into the microfiber here. The Louis Vuitton Paris, made in France. And somewhere in here is the date code as well, but I'm not going to go hunting for it. What I love though, and what I think is like a functional, you know, sort of huge bonus selling point with this bag, is that it has the front pocket. In that regard, it's very similar to the Louis Vuitton DeVille. And it's just so nice to be able to slide your phone in there when you're out and about getting things done. Now that does mean that, you know, because this is a pocket that gets used, and it's, you know, canvas and leather and hardware and a lining, it's not going to stay pristine, right? And so some people get really bothered by the fact that this gets a little wavy, so to speak. And, you know, I get that. People would prefer that it have like a perfectly smooth, pristine aesthetic. But to me, it's just a sign of, you know, are you buying a bag for your fantasy self then that's just going to sit on a shelf? Because my real self, who's going to use this bag, wants this to be functional. And if that's how it looks when I'm actually using it, well, so be it. I still think it's beautiful. So love that that pocket is there and that it's so functional. And yeah, so that's the Treville. I can't wait to see what Alyssa says about her bag. I have a feeling it's probably in nicer condition than mine. And I will be super interested to hear how much she paid for hers, and see if we got them under similar circumstances. So, but yeah, this bag definitely needs a cleaning, especially now that I'm seeing it in the light. I'm like, oh yeah, I probably could have wiped this down with a baby wipe before filming this. So if you're curious how I clean my vintage Louis Vuitton pieces, definitely let me know. Now, I love this line. I love my pieces from this line. And so how do I feel about people calling Tyler, the Creator's bags the new multicolor? Honestly, I really don't mind it that much, and I do think they're kind of cute. The biggest critique, which I kind of agree with, that I've seen online, is that people are saying, man, this monogram looks like somebody went down to Chinatown in some city and bought like some terrible knockoff and they're parading it around. Yeah, I do see that critique, especially when people are looking at the actual like LVs. They are like a hand-drawn sort of look, and it gives them sort of like a blurry, kind of messy aesthetic, right? It's not like these crisp lines. But something I want to point out is that in a way, the hand-drawn aesthetic harkens back to the history of this particular line as well. So if you'll note, this pouch does not have the most crisp LVs. And in fact, on this one, it actually touches. And like the little hole there isn't as filled in as others. That's because early iterations of these pieces were hand-drawn. They were painted on. And so it wasn't until later when they actually started, you know, more of a mass-produced kind of approach. But originally, it really was a hand-painted print. And so for that aesthetic to be in place where it has sort of that hand-drawn look, I think it actually kind of speaks to the interesting tradition of how, you know, these beautiful, colorful monogram prints come into being. And so for me, I was like, actually, I think that's kind of cool, just because I happen to know that, right? Like I happen to know that this piece, when I, you know, researched doing Murakami to begin with and purchased this piece and brought it in, my sales associate at the time was like, oh, wow, that's so cool. This is a really early piece from the line. And you can tell because it's a little messy. It's a little imperfect, right? And it had enough of the signature markers of being an authentic piece. And the date code is in here as well. Yeah, it's, when was this made? 2004 CA 0014, right? So like the first week of 2004, this was made. So it really was in like one of the very first batches of this line being available at Louis Vuitton. So I don't see it as a flaw. And I think it's just a neat part of the history and part of the artistry of making these kinds of canvases. Now, for Tyler, the Creator, he has a lot of interesting influences that have played into his love of Louis Vuitton. Both he and Pharrell have been huge fans of Louis Vuitton for a long time and have been photographed wearing Louis Vuitton for years. So that it doesn't surprise me that they're collaborating on this. And I think some of the Craggy Monogram pieces are pretty cute. I mean, I am a monogram keep all collector, so to see the Craggy Mono Keep All 50, the price point of $3,400, that actually kind of tracks with the way that prices have been going up. That doesn't strike me as too expensive, all things considered. So I think that's a really great bag. You know, on this monogram, I really like the look of the bright pops, especially the pink of the LV flowers, and super cute to have the leaping Airedale Terriers in here. That's something that is unique to Tyler the Creator and his own recurring motifs in his work. So I think that was a really creative, unique way to sort of work in his own signature thing, like and embedding it within the Louis Vuitton monogram. But some of the new pieces I think are really quite striking, right? The Rush bum bag I think is hot. To quote the infamous Paris Hilton, that's hot. I mean, no doubt this is going to be a bag that sells out and does really, really well. I think the price point is pretty typical for what canvas pieces are these days. So keep an eye out for that one. I think it's going to definitely be extremely popular. The Envelope Messenger, I think, is also a great bag. It's definitely giving like Pochette Matisse kinds of vibes. Again, a very popular aesthetic from the women's collection, but reimagined for the men's line. I also think that the Speedy 25 that they're doing is really, really cool and also very tempting. And it has the signature like wavy luggage tag that has been on several collections now. So really interesting, really nice, coherent transition from styles of the past to styles of the future. And of course, everybody is talking about the waffle bag. Even the wonderful Cassie Thorpe did a nod to the waffle bag as like a whimsical bag. It's just a whimsical bag in this collection. And, you know, it's not for me, but it's fun that it exists. Okay. I'm not mad at it, whatever. But yeah, so overall, I think Tyler the Creator has a really creative and interesting line. I don't think it's one note. I think it's taking something that is very traditional to Louis Vuitton and building on it and reimagining it in a new way. I especially love the way that this line is being marketed. I love seeing the diversity of the campaigns. All of that really resonates with me and makes me really happy to see. So will I be buying any pieces from this collection? It's very tempting. Maybe. I give it a hard maybe. I've been very focused on Hermes lately, but yeah, there are some bags here that definitely are tempting for sure, especially knowing how much I love my my classic OG Louis Vuitton monogram bum bag. And I also have a Speedy 25 in bandolier that I adore, which I haven't introduced you to yet, but will sometime soon. So yeah, you know, I think that there's something in this collection for just about everyone. So if you can stomach the prices, I think it will be really fun. And I think it'll be part of just the history of the brand and doing some new and interesting things. That said, if you don't love it, if it seems sloppy to you, I also get that argument. No harm, no foul. Just sort of let it go, move on. Maybe there will be something next year that appeals more. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do head over to The Gal's Guide and watch her video on this same topic. I'm very curious to hear what you all think between the two of us and our takes on this collection, and also our takes on the classic and why it is so beautiful and so beloved. So yeah. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope you're having a great day. Please do consider subscribing down below. Join me next time. We'd love to have you back, and have a good one.